Hey guys, HW. I'm standing in Belmore Park outside Sydney Central Station on a Friday morning. Let's take this opportunity to quickly do the weather observations. Today in Sydney it's due to get up to 18 degrees Celsius. In the morning it was 6 degrees, a little bit cooler in the with the wind chill. So 6 degrees Celsius up to 18 degrees Celsius later on. And let me just quickly turn the camera around and have a look at these ibis basking in the sun on the grass here in Belmore Park. And tell you what we're going to do today. I want to do something different. I want to do something that will be hopefully quite useful to the tourists or the aspiring tourists hoping to come to Sydney. Now the assumption that I'm making is if you're going to come all the way to Sydney or all the way to Australia, you probably want to that's a bit of a tongue twister, you're probably going to want to stay in Sydney City proper itself, and you're probably going to stump up a bit more cash to stay in the city and be close to everything, at least for a couple of nights. Maybe some of you only one night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to utilize Google Maps, and I'm going to punch in a list of hotels into Google Maps, and I'm going to show you the perspective of the streets outside each of those hotels and give you an idea of what the neighbourhood is like in the place that you've chosen to stay. Now you could do something similar on Google Maps itself at Street View, but there's no way that it's going to give you the proper perspective of what it's like, really like in the wild. So hopefully you find it useful to give you an idea of what the borders are. So Sydney City according to Google Maps, and I think it's pretty accurate as well in terms of Sydney Council, the borders are Goulburn Street to the south, Darling Harbour to the west, the Domain to the east, and Circular Quay and the Opera House to the north. Now a bit of a spoiler, towards the end, as I make my way up from Central Station here, I'll probably capture the Park Hyatt down at Sydney Harbour as well, which is quite pricey. I might just put that in for a comparison at the end. So sit back, grab your nectar, your coffee, and enjoy the guiding voice of HW as we have a look at the streets around each of these hotels in the city. $250 AUD and above. Alright, first cab off the rank. Not a cheap one. Meriton Suites. $756 per night. Right smack bang inside World Square. This is all based on 2-person, 1 night, by the way. But this is Liverpool Street, where the entrance to Meriton Suites is. It's quite a busy street because it's one of the cross streets that gets traffic from the eastern suburbs across the city out to the inner west. But the beauty of this spot is it's quite central to everything, and you've got all the lovely eateries and restaurants in World Square. At the bottom of it, just there, you can see one of the arcades that takes you into World Square just there. Been through World Square before, but this is what's at the bottom of Meriton Suites. I think it's a good day to do it as well, a Friday, so a Friday night stay, because that's when you're going to get a lot of not just international tourists, but you're going to get a lot of interstate tourists as well coming up to Sydney for the weekend. Here's next cab off the rank, another Meriton premise, Meriton Suites in Kent Street. Kent Street's a good location as well. On the other side of the building here is George Street, so you can't get much more central than that. And then if we head south that way, we'll hit Chinatown, and then Darling Harbour behind me now. Underneath the Meriton Suites there's a retail precinct as well with a whole bunch of eateries in it, so plenty of options, and cafes on the ground level as well. Plenty of cafes around. So there's nowhere really dangerous in Sydney City in these borders that I'm talking about today. Different times of the day and night it will get quiet, and then other times it'll be really busy. But it's important to note that a lot of the drinking houses around Sydney actually close at midnight. So it's not like you're going to have a whole bunch of drunks walking the streets at night. So you can feel fairly safe. Fraser Suites, $269. Again on Kent Street, just down the road from the Meriton Suites. This one's directly across the road from the cinema car park, or the cinema centre car park. So again, depending on the time of day and what day it is, could be busy around here. At least you got a little cafe right at the bottom there, old 6 a.m. Convenience store just here as well. And the Belvedere Hotel right on the corner. Yet another Meriton Suites premises on the corner of Bathurst Street and Pitt Street. If you're wondering why so many Meriton buildings are showing up in these listings, is because back in the day these apartment buildings were built thinking that they were going to be purchased and occupied by residents who would live there. But given all the disruption in the, that we all went through a few years back, the demand wasn't there, so a lot of them started to be rented out as a holiday accommodation, and that's continued on. Look, I'm not an expert on the way they sell their product, but I'm only guessing that's the way it turned out. But it may be that they always had some of the building assigned to accommodation. I don't know. Porterhouse Hotel, Castlereagh Street, $298 per night. Filmed this in one of my videos before, but it's a lovely old hotel, this one. As I said before, you can't go wrong with any of these accommodation options in the Sydney City Council area. Sydney itself is very walkable, so you stay in any of these joints, you'll be able to walk anywhere in the city that you need to go. Bathurst Street just there. Porterhouse Hotel next to the old Presbyterian Church. And a little way down the road, the Castlereagh Club. And just near the fire station down there, there's a coffee shop as well. I think it was that Normcore coffee shop I went to, yeah. But that's what the street looks like around the Porterhouse Hotel. The Crowne Plaza on the corner of Sussex Street and Bathurst Streets. This one's $358 per night. Again, all of these hotels I'm covering for two-person share for one night. This is Sussex Street, the look down Sussex Street. Take Sussex Street this way, it'll take you all the way down to Goulburn Street, and then you'll be pretty close to Chinatown. There's a few convenience stores and cafes around. Now, depending on what time of the day it is, during peak times, then it's going to be a pretty busy street, Sussex Street. But then at other times, it's going to be pretty quiet. Park Royal, Darling Harbour, $2.99 per night. This one's right on the intersection of all the various expressways in Sydney. The Distributor, the Bradfield, all different ways, a bit of a spaghetti junction. So it's probably a bit loud from traffic noise, but it's very close to everything. It's got a pedestrian bridge just there that you can walk over to Darling Harbour, and then you're also not far from Chinatown and Darling Square as well. So there's a lot of options for eating and doing and seeing things as well. The only downside is all this traffic. W Hotel, Darling Harbour, right smack bang on top of Darling Harbour. Cockle Bay Wharf just there, a lot of eating options for you. But yeah, W Hotel, another one like the Park Royal, directly over the top of one of the expressways, but I'm sure they've got all of the glass insulated so that you don't hear that sort of noise. As I'm looking up at the windows of the W Hotel, there's a couple of people that showed up in the window undressed, which was quite a shock. But yeah, there's the W Hotel, $400 a night. You also got these pedestrian bridges that you can use to get across over to the city proper. And then Piermont Bridge up there as well. Now, I'm not going to cover the other hotels in Darling Harbour, being the Swissotel, the Novotel and the Ibis, which all have absolute crapload of rooms, because there's a massive construction site at the base of them at the moment. The old Harbourside Shopping Centre is getting redeveloped, so I don't think it's fair that I put them in the comparison today. Beautiful walking along Cockle Bay Wharf here today. That westerly wind's making it quite crisp, but at the same time the sun's beating down on my face and it's warm. It's quite a delight. Soon the school holidays will be over, thank goodness. and we can get back to a bit of normality. The Mantra on Kent Street, $257 per night. This is one of the approaches to the Harbour Bridge, so quite a busy street, but close to everything. Town Hall's just down there, Darling Harbour behind the Mantra, and then the rest of the city, if you turn right there to Market Street, you can get up into the main shopping district. So again, pretty central to everything. Big parking lot next door to it as well. The Wilson parking on Kent and Sussex streets. You head through there. The Hilton Hotel, $281 per night. Can't get much more central than this. Right on George Street, across the road from the Queen Victoria building here. It's a beautiful spot. Access to George Street and Pitt Street through that tunnel there. The Swissotel in Market Street. If you love shopping, you're right on the shopping spots just here in the Swissotel. There's Centrepoint Tower just there. This is a really good spot. Busy street though, Market Street. Again, it's one of those streets that dissects the city, so it gets all the peak hour traffic. But yeah, you want to be close to everything. This is the one. Did I say how much it was? It's $268 per night. And directly across from the Swissotel in Market Street is the QT, right on top of the State Theatre. You can pop downstairs and have a show after you've had a nectar at the Parlour Cafe restaurant just there. Stone's throw from the QVB as well, just there on the corner. Plenty of taxis waiting out the front. Oh, the Fullerton Hotel in Pitt Street. And I've forgotten already how much it is per night. Gotta look at my phone again. $257 per night. Again, this is right next to the Pitt Street Mall, so this is a good locale as well. Close to plenty of hotels and restaurants, and Martin Place just there as well. Fullerton Hotel. Only a one-lane street for traffic and a big bike lane, so not real busy. Put out a few coffee shop chairs just next to the bike lane there. It's probably the little coffee shop in there, 2 Penny Black. Yeah, it is. The Novotel in York Street, $279 per night. Not far from the exit of the Harbour Bridge. Lots of buses come down York Street, but it's pretty handy to Wynyard Station just there. And I do recall back in the days this was always really popular with the tourists, this one. I think it was called the Travel Lodge then though. It's called the Novotel now. Although, what's this building on the corner? The Radisson Plaza Hotel on the corner of Pitt and Hunter Streets. Lovely old building, this one. Put on Pitt Street. Again, only one lane of traffic and the cycle route. A bit further away from the shops in the Pitt Street Mall. But closer to Circular Quay, I guess, if you're planning a trip over to Manly. Just up the road there's Wynyard Station, so that's another transit option for you. But yeah, look, plenty of coffee shops around, and up the road there, if you get up towards Bly Street, there's a ton of restaurants up there, exclusive ones as well. I didn't say how much it was, did I? $278 per night, the Radisson. The Intercontinental Hotel on the corner of Phillip and Bridge Street. Stone's throw from Circular Quay. $358 per night. Close to the Botanic Gardens at the end of the street. Easy walk downhill to Circular Quay, and then the restaurants of Circular Quay and the Rocks. Intercontinental. Now we're down at Sir Stamford in Macquarie Street. And I've forgotten how much it is per night already. Got a mind like a goldfish. $339 per night, the Sir Stamford. Right on the back of the Intercontinental Hotel and overlooking Circular Quay. It's a pretty good spot. It's probably going to be more popular if you want to take some trips from Circular Quay, or if you want to enjoy the parklands of the Botanic Gardens, because there is a little slide hill to get back up to the main part of the city. And likewise, if you go down to Circular Quay, you're going to have to walk back up the hill to get to your hotel. Sir Stamford. One of the buildings along here, I don't know which one, but one of them on Google Maps calls it Pullman Quays, part of the Pullman Hotel group, I believe. $563 per night. But get a load all the punters in Circular Quay today. Absolutely chockers. Stuffing their faces in the restaurants, getting around the cafes. I was almost starting to think there might have been a cruise ship in town, but no. It's just the school holidays. I've brought all the punters into the city. So yeah, somewhere along here is the Pullman Hotel at $563 a night. I don't know which one it is. You'll have to look it up on the map yourself. Walking along here in the sun's quite a delight. It's nice and warm. But you get into the centre of the city, in between some of the big buildings, and there's a cool breeze that blows straight through you. So a real contrast down here. Well, we've come to the end of the little tour. And I'm standing right on the edge looking into the seaweed and seagrass of the harbour there. But directly across that sort of horseshoe, or half a horseshoe building across the way there underneath the harbour bridge, is the Park Hyatt. Let me just quickly check to see how much it was, because I forgot to look again. $736 per night. $736, but to have beautiful views over the harbour, to the Opera House, to the harbour bridge, nice easy access to the rocks and Circular Quay. But to go anywhere else, to go up into the city or Darling Harbour, it's a bit of a hike, so you might be making use of Ubers if you stay down here. Plenty of restaurants around. I probably should have stood on the other side of this gate, but you get views down the harbour to the Opera House and back to Circular Quay. So a good spot. Stick around to the end and I'll stop for coffee, and I'll tell you what my recommendation is for a stay when you come to Sydney as a Sydney local, or a Sydney local's point of view. Alright, the flat white has arrived, and I'm at a little coffee shop in Tank Stream Way that I haven't been to for ages, called Marlowe's Way. There it is up there, and there's the delicious flat white about to be consumed by HW. But the reason why we're here is I'm going to give you my verdict on where you should stay when you come to old Sydney town. Let me have a sip of this nectar first. Oh, that's glorious. Marlowe's Way in Tank Stream Way. Alright, over to the hotels. So the collection of hotels that we saw in Sydney today are based on tonight's prices. It is school holidays at the moment, so the prices may vary. And I'm also, because I searched for it in Google Maps, it may have narrowed down the search criteria, and I might have left a few hotels out, but we did cover a fair few. Now my recommendation if you come to Sydney is to see, if we draw a box from Liverpool Street at the south down to Kent, up Kent Street, all the way to, say, Margaret Street or Wynyard Station, and then down east to Pitt Street, and then down and then across to Castlereagh Street, or down to Castlereagh Street, down Castlereagh Street back to Liverpool Street. That would be the box that I'd look for a hotel if I came to Sydney. For major reason being it's quite flat, so it's quite easy walking, and you're close to everything as well. You're close to the shops, you're close to the restaurants, the cafes, Queen Victoria Building, the Pitt Street Arcade, all the shopping, all the rest of it. So that would be my recommendation for you. So that box, so Liverpool South to Margaret Street North, Kent Street to the west, and Castlereagh Street to the east, that'd be the box. I'd look for hotels in that box. If you're coming to Sydney for the first time and you're gonna pay a little bit more cash. If you're not so much interested in the shops and the cafes and restaurants in the centre of the city, and you want something a bit quieter, then maybe pay a bit more and stay at the Intercontinental or the Stamford, or even the Park Hyatt overlooking the harbour. That was one hotel that we missed, was the Hyatt on the park on Elizabeth Street. That didn't show up in Google Maps, so either it was booked out or more expensive or less expensive, I don't know, but it didn't show up. So yeah, hope you enjoyed a little look into old Sydney town today. Let me finish the rest of this nectar in Tank Stream Way, and I'll see you in the next vid. The video. By the way, I love these palms behind me here. These little palms. Eh? How good are they? All the kegs sitting outside the hotel there. Up to Bridge Lane. Thanks for coming on the little skirt.